RBI గవర్నర్ సంజయ్ మల్హోత్రా మాట్లాడుతున్నారు. లైవ్ చూద్దాం.
Latest forecast by various organizations, national and international, including our own Indian Meteorological Department, the monsoon is expected to be normal, and the El Nino effect is also expected to be absent. So these are positives for us. Taking all these factors into consideration and therefore assuming a normal monsoon, CPI inflation for the financial year 25-26 this year is projected at 4%, with Q1 at 3.6%, Q2 at 3.9%, Q3 at 3.8%, and Q4 slightly higher at 4.4%. The risks are evenly balanced. I now will be speaking on the external sector. India's services exports remained resilient in January-February of this year, driven by software, business, and transportation services. Going forward, net services and remittances receipts are expected to remain in large surplus, partly offsetting the trade deficit. The current account deficit for last year as well as this year, 25-26, are expected to remain well within the sustainable level. On the financing side, gross foreign direct investment, FDI, remained strong during the period of April 24 to January 25. Last year, which is the latest data, period for which we have the latest data, reflecting India's strong macroeconomic fundamentals. Net FDI, however, moderated sharply during this period due to higher repatriations and outward FDI. Net FPI inflows to India stood at $1.7 billion during 24-25, supported by debt inflows as the equity segment recorded net outflows. This is much lower than what we had last year. External commercial borrowings and non-resident deposits, on the other hand, witnessed higher net inflows compared to that last year. As on 4th April 2025, India's foreign exchange reserves stood at $676.3 billion, providing an import cover of about 11 months. Overall, India's external sector remains resilient as the key indicators stay robust. I will now be talking about the liquidity and the financial market conditions. System liquidity was in deficit in January 2025, with net injection under the liquidity adjustment facility scaling a peak of more than 3 lakh crore rupees, in fact 3.1 lakh crore rupees on 23rd January 2025. However, as a result of a slew of measures, and I'll not go into the details thereof, you are all aware of them, of the various OMOs, the CRR rate cut, the swaps that we have done. The system liquidity deficit tapered therefore during last 2 months of February and March, and further it turned into a surplus on 29th March 2025. Further, coupled with the government spending picking up pace during the latter half of last month, March, the system liquidity further improved and it stood at a surplus of 1.5 lakh crore as on 7th April 2025, and even yesterday it was 1.4 lakh crore rupees of surplus. Reflecting these developments, the weighted average call rate softened and remained near the repo rate since the last policy meeting. The spreads of 3-month CP and 3-month CD rates over the 91-day Treasury bill rate have also softened since the second half of March, suggesting an improvement in liquidity conditions. I would like to mention over here again, I am reiterating this, I have said this earlier, which is that the Reserve Bank is committed to provide sufficient system liquidity. We will continue to monitor the evolving liquidity and financial market conditions and proactively take appropriate measures to ensure that there is adequate liquidity. Coming to financial